What's going on, guys? It's Tom or Top 10 Wrestling here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be covering the TNA episode where AJ Styles had his final match, arguably the day that many people say TNA died. I mean, TNA in 2014 was not great, and at this point I had stopped following the company entirely, so let's see how this episode is. But before we do get into it, I want to thank my Patreons, Marky D and Alan Barkley, and if you want to check out my Patreon to see all sorts of exclusive content, videos out early, link is in the description. It only costs $1 or $5 a month. You can check it out, get all sorts of exclusive content. I've got content coming out tomorrow on it, so check it out, and let's get right into this video. In the previous weeks of Impact, Magnus defeated Jeff Hardy in a Dixieland match to win the TNA World title. During his title coronation, AJ Styles returned with the TNA World title himself, the title that he never lost and was supposed to have vacated after Dixie Carter announced on Twitter in October 2013 that the title was vacated. Yes, that's how they vacated the World Championship. So tonight, it's AJ Styles versus Magnus to see who is the undisputed TNA World Champion. We open the show with Dixie Carter coming out, audible groan. She comes out and calls out AJ Styles to sign the contract for tonight's main event, and he comes out. Dixie demands AJ signs the contract, and AJ says that Dixie has a lot of confidence in her paper champion. AJ and Dixie argue until Magnus comes out. The crowd chant paper champ at him, and Magnus tells Dixie to leave the ring, leaving just him and Styles in the ring. Magnus cuts a very dull promo on AJ, calling himself the one true man, and then AJ basically calls him a Dixie Carter ass kisser. The contract is signed, and the main event is made official for tonight. We then go into our first match, as it's Eric Young and Joseph Park versus TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Bromans of Robbie E and Jesse Goddard. About 2 minutes into the match, we cut backstage, seeing ODB being beaten down by Gail Kim and Lady Tapper, and Eric Young runs backstage to check on his wife, basically making this a 2-on-1 handicap match. During the match, DJ Z at ringside is just playing air horns, and it's actually pretty funny, and Robbie E gets the pin on Joseph Park to win the match, and after the match, they take part of the guardrail and then hit the bro down to Joseph Park onto the guardrail. We cut backstage and Samoa Joe is talking to Dixie Carter. Samoa Joe said that he has AJ Styles back tonight and that he isn't going to let Dixie Carter screw over AJ Styles. Dixie then tells Samoa Joe that he should be focusing on his match tonight against EC3. So hopefully that should be a fun little match. We then cut into the ring and James Storm has asked his partner Gunner to come to the ring. Gunner collected a Feast of Fire briefcase over James Storm, and since then, the two have had bad blood. The two exchange in a war of words, and Gunner basically says that he beat James Storm and he's better than James Storm. James Storm then challenges Gunner to a match for the briefcase, and Gunner accepts to end the segment. We go backstage and EC3 is beating down Samoa Joe, and the two start fighting onto the stage. Both men make it into the ring, and the match between EC3 and Samoa Joe has begun. Joe looks to hit the Muscle Buster, but Rockstar Spud comes out and stops Joe from doing it. Joe is then about to take out Spud, but then EC3 attacks Joe, and the bell is rung after about 5 minutes of in-ring action. And it's a no contest apparently, which makes 0 sense. They both continue to beat down Joe and take out his leg. The match, like I said, went for about 5 minutes, and for those 5 minutes, it wasn't too bad, and it could have been great. But of course, TNA had to ruin it. What an awful finish. We then cut backstage to Kurt Angle. Here we go, the boys are back in town. Being interviewed by Jeremy Borash, he talks about his Steel Cage Open challenge that he has issued for tonight, as he's preparing himself for his match with Bobby Roode at Genesis. Basically, tonight on Impact, Kurt Angle has made an open challenge for anyone to face him in a Steel Cage match. How exciting. Samoa Joe is then shown in the medical room, and the doctor is saying that Joe has to go to the hospital, and Samoa Joe is just furious because Him going to the hospital means he can't be in AJ's corner for his match with Magnus in the main event tonight. Sting is then shown backstage encountering Gunner and James Storm, who have been knocked out. He then starts screaming at Dixie Carter, and he is furious that Joseph Park, ODB, Samoa Joe, Gunner and James Storm are all injured, and sees it all as a setup so that AJ has no one in his corner tonight. Actually, some really good acting here from Sting. You could tell he was really passionate, and it looked like he was properly passionate, and really good stuff from him here. And next up is the Kurt Angle Steel Cage Open Challenge. And who is answering the Open Challenge? It's Bobby Roode. Roode comes out and seemingly wants a piece of Kurt now and not have to wait until the pay-per-view to do so. But then Bobby gets on the mic and says, "Nah, I'm not facing you, but I found two people who hate you just as much as I do." And he introduces Kazarian and Christopher Daniels' Bad Influence, so it's going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match inside the cage. Bad Influence are in control right from the start, and every time Angle starts to make a comeback, Bad Influence get back in control fairly easily and quickly. Angle though managed to hit the Angle Slam on Kaz and get the win for a very impressive victory, and from a pretty decent match too. Probably the best match on the show so far, but that's not saying much since the other ones went about 7 minutes in total between them. We then go backstage and Dixie is asking if Bobby Roode is ready for his cage match tonight, and he's like, no, I wasn't actually facing Angle. But then Dixie says, "Oh yeah, I know, you're facing Sting tonight." So it's going to be Sting versus Roode in the cage, and Roode is absolutely furious. Then, this segment was really weird. We see Kurt Angle taking photos with fans, but then Al Snow pulls up in a car and says him and Angle need to leave to the airport now. Angle gets in and they drive off. Why are they leaving to the airport in a hurry? Who knows? Sting versus Bobby Roode is next, and this is during the phase where Sting wrestled in his shirt and he was seen backstage without the face makeup. This pretty much was not a good phase for Sting in TNA in terms of his in-ring work. Sting is in control most of the match, but of course Spud and EC3 run out, and Spud hands Roode a baton as EC3 distracts the ref. Roode uses the baton on Sting and beats him down with it. He then opens the door and escapes the cage to win the match and beat Sting. And I've never understood why TNA would do spots in cage matches like this, where they distract the referee so they could use a weapon or do a low blow. Like, it doesn't make sense. A cage match should be no DQ, so you don't need to do all these referee distractions. It's something that TNA always did that bugged me. We are then shown a video from earlier today showing Mr. Anderson walking into a funeral home. Mr. Anderson walks in there and it shows Bully Ray sitting in the back of the room. Bully Ray is threatening to set Mr. Anderson on fire if Anderson comes any closer. Bully Ray then tells Anderson to take out what's in the coffin. He takes the item out and they're towels, it seems like. He then looks back and Bully Ray has gone and vanished. What did I just watch? Sting confronts Dixie Carter backstage once more and says that nothing is going to stop him from being in AJ Styles' corner tonight. Dixie then starts trying to blackmail Sting and implies offering him a new higher contract if Sting isn't in AJ's corner, and asks him to make the right decision. And up next is AJ Styles versus Magnus, the anticipated main event that the whole show has been built around. There is a lot to unravel in this match, so bear with me here. The crowd are firmly on the side of AJ Styles because, of course they are, he's the best TNA wrestler of all time, and he's against Magnus, the biggest charisma vacuum in TNA history. The match starts off very slow with Magnus cowering away from Styles and faking an injury, and Magnus gets in the ring and immediately Spud and EC3 attack, which is legal by the way, as this match is no DQ. AJ takes them out and maybe now this match can finally properly begin, but no, EC3 attacks again and Magnus continues doing nothing. Sting then runs out to accompany AJ Styles and he beats down Spud and EC3, and Magnus and AJ finally start fighting themselves, but it doesn't last long because the Bromans come out and attack Sting and AJ. I get it's no DQ, I get that it's no DQ, but can we please have a bit of one-on-one action? The bromans hit the bro down on Styles and Magnus makes the pin, but Earl Hebner is hesitant to count, and after he takes ages to count, Styles manages to kick out. The ring is cleared, and now Magnus and Styles are finally fighting. Nope, because Bad Influence run out and they attack AJ. Bloody hell. Magnus pins AJ again, but this time Earl Hebner outright refuses to count and he leaves the ring, and Dixie sends out a replacement referee, his son, Brian Hebner. The whole gang keep hitting moves on AJ, but AJ keeps on kicking out. AJ and Sting start making a comeback and they start beating down Bad Influence, the Bromans, EC3 and Spud, and we have a one-on-one situation with Magnus and AJ for about 5 seconds until Kaz attacks the ref when Magnus is locked in the calf crusher. AJ hits the Stars Clash on Magnus, but there is no referee, so Earl Hebner runs back out and is gonna count to 3, but on 2, Bad Influence take him out, which I gotta say, good near fall. Genuinely good near fall. AJ looks to hit a move from the top rope, but Roode now interferes. Roode hits some cool looking move on AJ about 3 times. I don't know if that was his finisher or not. And a new referee is brought out and counts to 3 for Magnus. This was easily the most overbooked match I have ever watched. Just a SHIT show. I get that Magnus is a heel, I get that you had this storyline where it was everyone versus AJ, but did you really need this much interference? Could you not have just let them fight one-on-one? Because Magnus now looks so damn weak. The show as a whole was not great either. I believe the longest match was like 8 minutes. And I did like how the show was built all around this match with the attacking and whatnot backstage, but the match itself didn't deliver. And it's like it's like you did all this hype for a Magnus match. Like, come on. But yeah, after this match was taped in December, contract negotiations between AJ Styles and TNA fell through, meaning this was AJ Styles' last ever match, which sucks. Oh, last ever TNA match, I should say. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy, smack the like button. Follow me on Twitter at Top 10 Wrestling. My Instagram is at I'm Tom Bell. Like I said, check out my Patreon for all sorts of exclusive content. I'll see you all soon. Goodbye and keep on rolling.